Well, Manish, thanks for coming. We are celebrating the occasion of the publication of your latest CD, and that's very unique circumstances we're doing this. The initial plan was to do a concert, and many people would have loved to do that with you, but due to COVID measures, that wasn't possible. So this brings us together in this room that we have been doing mantra singing for quite some time. And as I find your latest CD, Mantra, the selection of the songs, 9 songs, is it? 9 tracks. That's perfect for me, as you've been singing exactly these songs for a long time and singing with us. Now, the obvious question for the title, and you must have had a plan, which is quite surprising to me, because mantra seems to be the most obvious thing, the most obvious title. Maybe this asks for you to define the term mantra. What do you mean by that?
Well, traditionally the meaning of the word mantra is the sound which protects the mind. The sound which helps you to protect the mind from compulsive, repulsive patterns of thinking. At the same time, we added a subtitle to the CD, A Gateway to Infinity. So that I would call as a contemporary definition. Because apart from protection of the mind, the sounds of mantra has this capacity and a potential to take you to that dimension which is infinite. It begins, but it doesn't end. So that's why we gave that title, A Gateway to Infinity.
And what made you go straight for that title?
It's basically an obvious title in a way. So when we were brainstorming, me and my wife, when this sentence appeared, it was like, yeah, that it is. That is what it is. And it's not only that it's coming from our linguistic capacity, but it is not only ours, but probably yours, as well as the people who have gathered here and many more who have listened to this music. That it is definitely an entrance to that infinite world of meditation, silence, peace, bliss, serenity, tranquility, stability. So there was no other way we could describe it.
Now, no doubt a mantra by its syllables and meaning has an eternal root, so to speak. But then there is a composition to it. How do these two combine when you compose?
Yeah. That's a good question. You see, we in India, we grow up with these amazing sounds from our childhood. When we are growing up, there are ceremonies in the house, there are celebrations, there are festivals, there are occasions of birth to what you call here a baptism. There is a different kind of baptism. Then there is marriage, then there is buying a house or starting a new work, or some specific issues that one goes through, and then finally the death. During all these processes, different mantras are used. So if you grow up in India, you are totally surrounded by this more or less all the time, whether you like it or not. Of course, I did like all these sounds. At that time, there was simply an absorption happening. That time there was never an idea that much later I would be singing this. But maybe in that time some planting of the seed was happening. Now I can see that, now I can say that. So when you grow up around this atmosphere that certain mantras are connected with certain deities, certain occasions, certain feelings, certain moods, certain color, certain essence, and then the same understanding comes from the learning of Indian music.
Mm-hmm.
So as a student of Indian music, as a performer of Indian music, and as someone who likes to work with the sacred music of India, the sacred text of India, which one of them are mantras, we try to combine both those essences together, so that the energy of mantra is first of all not disturbed, but if possible enhanced and deepened. And when I'm composing something, first I feel it for myself, that what is it doing to this system here. And if I'm assured, then I'm confident that okay, I'm in the right direction, and then now how can I beautify it more with the right sounds, the right arrangement. Sometimes it requires a lot, sometimes it requires very minimal. So whatever it is needed to maintain and enhance the energy of that mantra, we do it in the recording process, in the creative process.
Now we've tried somehow to define mantra and tell people what it is about. I've seen and heard you a couple of times also make statements about what it is not. Would you go into that as well?
In simple words, mantra is always in Sanskrit. Okay, but as far as sacred text is concerned, we have many other variations which are sacred, but they are not necessarily mantra. We have something called bhajan, which is a devotional song. Like it could be big poetry, either in the praise of a guru or in the praise of certain deity, or just explaining the essence of life, the highest wisdom of life in the form of poetry. India has had traditions of enlightened saints who loved to share their wisdom through simple songs like Kabir, Nanak, Meera, Paltu, Raidas, Surdas. I mean, there is like endless names. And for some reason, they could reach people through these bhajans, through this what we call pad, in simple language. So then we have mantra, we have bhajan, then there is kirtan. Then if you go into different religions, then in Sikhism there is Shabad. So yes, not everything from India is a mantra. And I know that in the West sometimes these things are sold as mantra, but it is not the case.
Confused.
Just like, a rap song is not a rock song. And a lullaby is not a reggae song.
Yeah.
So everything has its place, everything has its beauty. And once it is understood like that, then what is important is that the purpose that mantra has, not necessarily a bhajan has the same purpose. And kirtan is even completely different phenomenon. So once it is understood like that, then a listener can utilize it accordingly. And then of course, it's like if you take a medicine for stomach ache, but if that medicine is for headache, it will not work.
On your new CD, you present a selection of 9 mantras from rich backgrounds and traditions. How do you select these particular songs for your new CD?
Well, it's a very spontaneous process, really. Many of these compositions which are on the CD, they have been created in the past year or two. And some even long time ago. I just feel into it like what is the right time to bring this or this mantra into the next production. Especially this time I have included 3 Buddhist chants, which is the first time I'm including those mantras from that tradition.
Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakya Muni Soha. Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakya Muni Soha. Om Muni Muni Maha Muni.
And it is also something I grew up with. because when I was growing up in the Osho community, we were exposed to sacred music and sacred wisdom from every possible tradition. He was very open to sharing the highest from everywhere. So although primarily growing up in a Hindu family, but there was no this bondage that no, we only sing or we only connect with these mantras. No. So in that way, and Buddhist mantras have their roots in the tradition of Hinduism, or as what we call as Sanatan Dharma. So all that came into a nice flow and a nice bunch of selection where I could feel that okay, now it's time to bring some from Krishna, some from Ram, and then certain mantras or certain selection of songs are from Advaita Vedanta, which is not really necessarily related with any deity as such, but it is talking about pure highest wisdom of non-duality. So there is one song called Shiva Swarupoham.
Shivoham, Shivoham, Shiva Swarupoham.
When you do your mantra evenings here, there is an ecstatic quality, and that seems to be the case with almost all of your mantras. Is that right? There's a build-up also, like you're searching and slowly approaching, but in the end, there will be ecstasy.
Ambani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti Pashyanti panit kalyanti chiram jaganti Ananda chinmaya satujjala vigrahasya Govindam adi purusham tammaham bhajami.
You see, that was actually my training in the music. So when I was learning music as a child until, the learning still is continuing. So in that proper musical training, one thing that we are taught is the skills, the art, the requisites of Indian classical music, and a little bit of the spiritual dimension of it. But other training which I got was not from a musical master, but from a spiritual master who was not a musician. But the way he had this vision and understanding about how the right music can smoothen the journey of a seeker, and how it can fasten, how it can deepen without too much effort. That was the whole idea, without too much effort. Because if you look at 4 paths of yoga, we have Gyan Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Raj Yoga. So especially Bhakti Yoga is the path of devotion, path of dissolving. And there music plays a big role. So with the music of mantra, with the music of kirtan, this is possible. That if the person is available, if the person is not resisting, if the person is in a flow with an open heart, the right music can take the listener, the participant, to a completely different dimension. Effortlessly. That is the main point. Effortlessly. All he has to do is to remain receptive and available and let the music do its job. And that training was happening very indirectly from my spiritual master. And being a musician, I could analyze little bit. Not that he was telling me, look Manish, here because of this particular chord, this is happening. No. It was not a technical explanation. He was just using the right music. I was there, and inside the translation was happening. That okay, so this is, and maybe I'm able to bring all that understanding into the work that is happening now here in Switzerland and through our gatherings, through the workshops. And really, the purpose is really to possibly introduce that amazing, fantastic potential of the sacred music, which can take a seeker, a practitioner, a participant, a listener to that space of serenity, celebration, silence, bliss, but effortlessly.
Beautiful.
And here, let me also point it out that many times I see here that there are gatherings which are called kirtan, but they are more generally like more mellow and silent and I don't want to say low energy, but a little bit on a horizontal level, and that's okay. But that's not kirtan. You know, it's like if I am doing a very hard mellow song and you could not call it a techno song. The same way a kirtan has to have a little dynamic energy, a vertical movement of the music, while mantra can remain horizontal. Mantra is used for more of listening and going deeper. So in that way I would say this album is more for that purpose. That you come in your space in the evening, for example, burn a candle, burn an incense, and just sit down and either listen, which I think is the best way to benefit yourself from the music of mantra.
Yeah.
Pure listening, without trying to analyze it, without trying to make any judgment, but let the music do its job, because we have put a lot of thought behind that. So allow that thought to work on the listener, and then see, and if you feel like singing along, yes, sing along. Both is okay. The subtler, the better.
Yeah, that's the message I got by listening to it. Thank you. You play many instruments, and tabla among them, also santur, right? And you sing, and you compose, and you play the harmonium. And there's one instrument that caught my ear. That's the clarinet. This time
I don't like
it's twice or three times.
Yes.
And I know there's a clarinet player in your family, so I can find the two of them. Is that correct?
Yes, we have a upcoming clarinet player in the family, and he's my wife's son, Justin, and he's great. He has such a great musical ear. Many times I have students whom I'm teaching, and he's listening in the other room, and then he gives me his feedback about the students. That guy was not in tune really. He needs to work harder. So he has a very built-in natural musical quality, and I'm really hoping that very soon he would be able to play with me and grace me with his wonderful contribution. For this CD, I had to hire somebody else.
Yeah.
And I almost convinced him to play a few notes for the CD. Almost. So he's definitely on the way.
And somehow makes me ask, is there no limit of including instruments into Indian music and styles, so to speak?
No, not really. There is no limit. There has to be only 3 instruments and all that. Sometimes it could be whole ensemble. It's just one has to understand as a composer what is the requirement. And sometimes, it's almost like cooking a dish. So not too many spices is good also, and not too little spice. Just what is really needed. And is the ultimate purpose that I have envisioned is being served or not? Then I'm happy with all that inclusion of the arrangements and the participation of the instruments. This time the best part is that when you will hear the choir, there are 16 people singing in that choir.
Wow.
So if I'm leading the songs, behind me there are 16 voices, and then the harmonies, and so there are a lot of beautiful layers. And though harmonies is usually part of the Western music, but here, since my years of experiment, I've seen that when a mantra is composed on a certain raga base, and then you add a dimension of harmony, it really opens up a new sky. I personally I start flying, and that is also my vision that maybe someday I would be able to conduct a mantra orchestra where I would have 50 people in a choir with all these raga based compositions but doing harmonies, and on one side would be a bunch of Indian musicians playing the Indian instrument, and then on the other side the whole symphony orchestra doing their part. And this would be not a entertainment. This would be a space where people can really go deeper. I don't want clapping after each piece. No, that is not the purpose. But how you can go to the deepest state of being. So hopefully that can manifest here.
Beautiful vision. I love that. And leads me to my last question. Presenting your latest CD to the world, what is your deepest wish to go with it? And
the most important amongst all is that people who are really genuinely interested in this tradition of mantras, especially from the musical side, that may they connect to the real spirit of India, the real spirit of mantra also. Because mantra is from India, the foundation of Indian music gives the strongest support. Otherwise, I always say mantras don't need music. You chant mantra in Om Gam Ganapate Namaha is more than enough. It doesn't need all this, orchestra and melodies. But if music is put, then it's important that the right elements of music, which supports and enhances the depth of mantra. So that is definitely important. That by not making it too complicated, making them accessible, but at the same time maintaining the roots and tradition of our culture. I'm continuously bringing every year a production of mantras or sacred music, so that, because I know people here are genuinely, definitely interested in this science. So it is important that the right ingredients are given to them instead of some cinnamon chai. Why not introduce the real chai? So the same thing is through these productions and through these efforts. Another wish is that as a seeker, as a meditator, as a sadhak, what we call, how I have been benefited by listening to this wonderful music of mantras and kirtans. And whatever I have received from my spiritual masters and my musical masters and the beautiful land of India. Through this creativity, it is my humble, small gesture of paying back to all those wonderful happenings, to all those wonderful presences who have graced and blessed my life with this, gems. So even if a little bit I can, pass it on to other people, I think I'm starting to pay back. I know that payback will never end for whatever has been received. But even if a little bit is possible, as we say, yours, back to you.
Thank you, Manish.
Thank you, Martin.